Yes.
I think it's also my responsibility, and I know that you're not doing this because of any malice, but Nathi Mthethwa's life begins before public service.
Yeah.
It begins as a servant of the people, not public service from a government perspective. Nathi Mthethwa got steeped in the politics of struggle, in the politics of liberation, in the politics of the underground military wing of the African National Congress in Sizwe at a very young age, like many of us. We joined MK young. He was part of the butterfly unit of KZN, whose command center was in Swaziland at that time. And operating as the butterfly unit under very, very difficult circumstances, where a lot of people got arrested and all of that. But, a lot of young South Africans, their stories have not been properly told. That of Nathi Mthethwa also doesn't begin in public office bearing as an MP or NEC member of the ANC or a minister. It goes back to the days of struggle as a young man. Sometimes we say we were young women. We were actually children who joined the armed struggle, children who joined the liberation movement for the betterment of our country, but also for the betterment of the lives of our people. And so that's where his life began. He came into public service as a public office bearer, got into parliament, and he did the best that he could, We all have our stories to tell about the public service, and I think some of them are good, some of them are bad, and some of the way in which we think about things and we do things sometimes has a bearing on how people view us. But I would really like to remember Nathi as a very thoughtful revolutionary, smart, and had his heart in the right place. Nathi was very approachable, even as a minister. I remember at some point when I was Deputy Minister for Public Service and Administration, and Collins Chabane died, who was the minister, and we worked seamlessly and beautifully with Collins Chabane. And when he died, Nathi took over as the acting minister because I was just the deputy minister. But in his time, he gave me the full reins to run the department. He would come to the office from time to time just to make sure that he's on top of things and get a proper briefing. He was a stickler for briefings. Every week he would come into the office to make sure that he gets a briefing, give his own views on issues and opinions and how things should be approached. But he was there to give that guidance, but also to give me support as his deputy minister at that time. Going through to the police, you would have issues and problems, people calling you, wanting assistance. SOS is really to say the police have not come back to us. You call Nathi, Nathi was always available to help people. He really was always. In sports, arts and culture, I never interacted with him that much in that portfolio. But I mean, Nathi as a member of the NEC alongside me, we always had chats. Yvonne Chaka Chaka talks about me having introduced her to Nathi Mthethwa when he was Minister of I'd even forgotten about that, but Yvonne just felt that she had to do it, which I'm grateful for, because sometimes we do things and we never understand the impact, the positive impact that it has on people. But Nathi was always approachable. Nathi would do a lot of reflection on issues. I remember one time we were going to Mangaung conference, and I was approached, please help with the campaigning, because I was part of the campaigning for the Polokwane conference. And he said, please come and help. And I said, no. I was part of the Polokwane faction. It was the first time in my life that I'd been involved in factional politics. And at that time, I thought it was for a good reason, because we didn't want at that time, right or wrong, and we all of us have reflected on that period. But when I was approached for Mangaung, I gracefully declined, and I said, the environment that existed pre-Polokwane no longer existed in Mangaung. So there was no need for me to be part of a faction that worked towards I was going to vote with my heart on the person that I thought I needed to vote for, but I was never going to campaign for anybody. And a few years thereafter, and it was about 2 years ago, Nathi called me and he said, you know, Ayanda, I've reflected on what you said so many years ago, and everything that you said, I agree with you now. We didn't agree at that point with your views on issues, and somewhat felt you were being emotional about your approach to political issues, but in hindsight, you were actually right. So he was that type of person that he would always reflect on things that he says, on decisions that he makes, and come back to the individual to say, you know what, you were actually right. And having thought about it, your view or your point of view on issues was correct. So he was that type of person who didn't believe that he was perpetually right. So that's a trait that not many people have. Many people would, even if they felt that she was right, they would brush it off. But he just felt the need to pick up the phone. And already at that time he was ambassador in Paris. He felt the need to pick up the phone and say, Ayanda, this is it. From November last year until May this year, I was appointed to help with the campaign, South Africa's campaign, for Swazi Shabalala to be the president of the African Development Bank. And when we went to Paris, on a very short notice, I called him. I said, Ambassador, we're coming, and we were going to go to, I don't know what they call, I think it's Champs-Élysées. We're going to meet with President Macron, and then it was changed that we're going to meet with his deputy, and we needed a car that would have allowed us entry because it's a diplomatic car. So I called Nathi and I said, Ambassador, we're here, and truly and honestly, believe me, it was a short notice. And he said to me, you can take my car. And he said, I'm preparing for, I think there was an economic summit or something that was going on at that time. I'm preparing for that. I will take a train, but you can take my car. So that was the type of individual that Nathi was. For him, here was a person who was sent by government to run a campaign and needed the tools to enable them to be able to do their work effectively. And he said, take my car, and if you need any more help other than this from the office, I'll make sure that you get that support. So he really was very supportive.
Wow. Let me thank you so much for your time.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much. And I hope his soul does really rest in eternal peace.
Thank you.